Good morning, everyone. Now, as Sean just mentioned, this is our first taste test, I think, that we've ever done for this. So I wanted to make sure that all the trustees got a little plate with some tofu on it. And anyone in the audience who wants to try some after the presentation, I'll be out there with tofu. I have tons of tofu, so please come and try some. And again, as Sean was saying, I'm all over the place. But what am I known for mostly at the college? I tend to do a lot of alternative energy things. So electric vehicles, solar panels, biodiesel. That's sort of my main passion here at College of the Atlantic, and I think it's what I've been known the most for. But I'm a human ecologist, so I like transdisciplinarity. I like being a generalist. I like doing a lot of different things. So who else am I because of that? And I'm not a piece of spinach. I'm a foodie. I really enjoy food. I like looking at new types of food. I find it a very interesting subject. I'm also a traveler. I like going places. I like experiencing new cultures, seeing new things. I also have a very strong do-it-yourself ethic. I like doing like little hands-on projects. The picture of the stove is actually me making apple molasses for Todd's History of Apples class, and that was a very fun project. And then culturally, I identify with being Japanese American. My mother's Japanese American. I'm very proud of that heritage. So all of those factors combined into why I looked at tofu in a human ecological way. First of all, food is energy, and it's our most vital energy. It's the most important. At the end of the day, you don't need electric lights or a car to take you 100 miles here or there. You need food. So I thought that was very important. It's also a cultural thing for me. I'm able to explore my own culture as well as the culture of others. It's a hands-on project. I made a lot of tofu throughout the whole project to really fully understand it. So that was a wonderful experience. And then finally, there's Don Cass. He has a class called Chemistry of Foods and Cooking, and for my final project in that class, I made tofu, and it was pretty mediocre. So I wanted to do it again. I wanted to make better tofu. And so to do this process, I started out with a text, and it's called the Book of Tofu. It's like the Tofu Bible. It has everything you'd ever want to know and a little bit more about tofu. And so I read it, studied it, and got to sort of know it by heart, and based most of my work on that. As I mentioned before, I made a lot of tofu, so I taught myself, and then I actually went out and taught others in some workshops that I held on campus. And making tofu is a fairly simple process. It's sort of like making a fresh cheese. It's not fermented. First, you make soy milk, so you grind up soybeans, boil them in water, and then strain out the pulp, and so you get the milky liquid, and then you coagulate that with a mineral or acid coagulant. So I used like a refined sea salt, and some people use lemon juice, and that makes these wonderful fluffy white curds, and then you press those curds together and you have tofu. After I made all this tofu, I decided to go out and travel and see how other people did. So the first stop was Heiwa Tofu in Belfast, their Maine's only tofu producer, and they were very generous to let me go into their shop and see how they did things. And they make a really wonderful tofu, so you should go out and try it. And then next, I went to California, where I was able to try more exotic types of tofu. So there's Vietnamese chili lemongrass tofu, pandan-flavored soy milk, and there's also a lot of historic tofu shops like San Jose Tofu, which, if they still had a wood cauldron in there, they'd be 100%, ancient Japanese tofu shop, but they have a gas one. And so all of this came together in an exhibit that I did during week 5 of this term. I wanted to be able to share all these experiences with everyone and sort of recast tofu in a different light. Most people think of it as a bland health food. I wanted people to see the rich history and culture behind it. And, I had displays on how to make tofu. I sort of tried to capture as much as I could. And of course, because it's food, I had a tasting. And you can see most of the plates are empty, so it was fairly popular. And I think, Adrian sort of passed out in the corner there. It was quite a busy day. Sorry, dear. I had to mention. And that gets us to our tasting. So On your plate, there's a little A and a little B. You might not be able to recognize it because my handwriting's pretty poor. Tofu A is a Chinese-style tofu. It's coagulated with gypsum. It has a sort of a more gel-like texture. I pressed this one a little longer than I normally do, though, so it's a little chewier. And it has a fairly mild flavor. It's very subtle. Tofu B is a Japanese-style tofu, and it's a little more chewy. And it has a sort of a sweet, minerally taste. It's sort of almost like mineral water. And that's one of my favorite tasting tofus for just fresh eating. And I'd like to thank Molly Anderson for all the support she gave me during the project, and Rich for all the support he's given me for the 4 years I've been here, as well as all of my peers who helped me on the project. I won't be going into a field where I'll be making tofu, but I'll be making biodiesel, which is another soy-based product. So I'll be in Portland, Maine at Maine Standard Biofuels for the foreseeable future. Thank you for your time.